Well, I like to walk around quite a lot, so this is going to be quite the challenge for me to stand in front of the cameras the whole time. I'd normally be right over there and back over here. Well, first of all, before I get into it, thank you all sincerely for coming out. Seeing this many people in the room for a simple open house, it truly warms my heart to see that all the work that we put in to our currency is getting such support. And we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without all of the investors, users, volunteers that have sacrificed literally for years to get to the point that we're at, a point where we are self-sustaining and truly able to employ our workforce and everything. It's really been an incredible journey. It's a journey no other coin has gone through. And I think that's a segue into what I want to talk about, which is the inevitability of our situation that we're in right now. And I'll expand on that idea, but before I do, as I've been involved with the coin since early 2014, first as just a regular community member, then I moved here for personal reasons, reached out to Evan, started a relationship and started talking about what features and things should be incorporated next, and how do you really gain adoption with users, how do you basically phase it through to the point that you can continue to grow it. And I became more and more involved. And last year I quit my job and joined Dash full-time for something like $700 a month or something in order to see it continue to grow. And Dash's growth has been astounding. We've had triple-digit growth every single year, and in our fourth year we already have triple-digit, nearly quadruple-digit growth in 2017. So what is this growth doing for us? So we started out this journey solving one problem, which was privacy. How do we make transactions more private? Nobody wants their balances published on a ledger for all the world to see. Nobody wants their transactions published on the ledger for all the world to see. Some people and organizations do need transparency. If you're an NGO, a nonprofit of some type, you might want your transactions actually visible. And so you need to provide both, and we came up with a solution to do that. Next, we recognize that Bitcoin transactions take a really long time. I don't know about you, but I don't like sitting around waiting 60 minutes to see if my transaction went through to make a purchase. No other payment system is like that. And so we went about solving that issue. Next, we recognized that there was a governance issue in Bitcoin. And gosh, governance is really important. We need an explicit means to make decisions on our network before it becomes an issue for us. So we introduced a simple voting mechanism at the time, early 2015. And at that point, then you start to recognize, well, this isn't sustainable. We can't get people to volunteer their time on this project forever. And we can't get people to donate and have a bunch of coattail riders on board. And it's not working for Bitcoin either. Every year, their donations drop to the Bitcoin Foundation. So that's not a sustainable model. We need something better. And so we rolled out the proposal system that allows anyone to put up a proposal that's going to benefit the network and receive a block reward, a reward for going and doing that effort. And so we've become self-funding. We're not dependent on donations from interested corporations that want to influence our work. We're here to serve our users. And I don't think that anything else existed like it at the time. We really became the first decentralized autonomous organization. And so we have this long history of solving problem after problem. And now we're laser focused on usability. Right now, cryptocurrency is way too hard for most people to use. You have to be dedicated to learning how to use it, be willing to overcome your fears when you type that first cryptographic address in. Hope you didn't mistype anything, not realizing that you've got about a 1 in billion chance of having the transaction actually accepted if you mistyped it. But it's a real barrier. This is not going to become a tool that is usable by the masses unless we address this issue. And meanwhile, we see many others in the space debating about some technical detail, block size, all kinds of stuff that users don't care about. They're addressing the wrong things. And we're making sure that, first of all, everyone at Dash rows in the same direction. We have a strategy, we have an end vision in mind, and we're laser focused on executing against that vision. We have investors that are aligned with that vision. We have users that are aligned with that vision. Even our miners are aligned with that vision. We just had about the fastest transition from one version to the next in history. 100 hours is all it took for all of our miners to switch over to the new version. Compare that. So we have a very strong, cohesive community that all share a common vision. And I think that that allows us to be far more nimble and move far more quickly towards a usable cryptocurrency. Now, I said at the beginning a little bit about inevitability. Ever since I've been involved in this project, it has felt to me a lot like fate. At every step and every turn and every obstacle that we came up against, the right person showed up that said, hey, I'll volunteer to solve that issue for you. Or just when capacity was running out in one of our departments and we didn't have any money to pay anybody, somebody else would show up. Or just as we solved one of the issues that we thought Bitcoin was going to face, they started facing them. And people took a look at what we'd done and said, hey, those guys anticipated that. And they've addressed it already. And so it seems like every single turn there's been this element of fate. And if you know me well, you know that fate is not something that I really believe in. And so I thought about this a little bit, and I thought, no, this is inevitability. What I'm feeling is inevitability. And there's a distinction between the two. Fate is something that you cannot control, something that happens to you. And it's directed upon you by some supernatural being. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening is an inevitable shift in the marketplace for digital currencies. And here's why. And here's what I settled on. And inevitability is basically something that is eventually going to happen. It doesn't say anything about whether or not you're in control of that happening. I happen to think we are. And here are the reasons why. If you look at the Bitcoin Foundation and other donators of developer time, Bitcoin Foundation got, in their most recent IRS 990 filing, somewhere around $396,000 in donations. They filed that in August. And last year was Dash's first full year of having a treasury system. And that treasury system, on the date that the Dash was paid out, produced about $660,000 in treasury funding. So last year, we kicked out the $660,000. We were able to do a lot with it. We've got somewhere around 32 paid employees, part-time and full-time. We funded a PR firm. We funded a plethora of different marketing activities, a YouTube show, all kinds of things, because people are passionate about this project and they're willing to work very hard for peanuts in order to see our vision happen. But here's what's happened since. With the market cap growth that we've seen this year, we're kicking out about $600,000 a month at this point. And it doesn't stop there. At $600,000 a month, so that's around $7 million a year that we're kicking out at this point. That funds, and we just did two things, started paying our team full market rates. And two, we more than doubled the size of our full-time payroll and nearly doubled the size of our employee base in a single month. We're hiring for 18 new full-time positions and 5 part-time ones on top of the 14 full-time positions, and I think it's about 16 or 18 part-time positions that we already have. We're going to be able to do a lot with that. And people aren't going to have side jobs anymore. They're not going to have to work on their side business in order to make ends meet. They're going to be able to dedicate their time to Dash. And so let's compare that with Bitcoin. It's very hard to find out how many full-time developers are working on Bitcoin, but I saw that Bitcoin Core claims to have somewhere around 17-ish, they say, more full-time programmers. There are about 3 that are working through MIT's program. There's a handful of others. Not only are we able to fund more developers, we're able to fund more of all the other resources you need. Marketing, PR, finance, HR, all of the things that keep an organization running. And so I believe that we're moving far faster than any other digital currency out there. And that's at our current scale. Now let's assume we keep growing. If we produce a product that can appeal to a much broader audience, and I believe it's many, many times larger than the current set of digital currency users. If we're able to produce this product and reach a massively larger audience, I would argue that our market cap should be much, much larger than Bitcoin's. But let's just assume we match it. If we were to match Bitcoin's market cap, the annual production of our treasury, are you ready? $185 million a year. How many developers can I hire? More than we need. I joked at Miami, the Miami Bitcoin conference here in January, I joked that by the end of the year, we might have a Super Bowl ad. And I'm starting to think that's possible. Because if we continue to grow at an exponential rate, a couple $1 million on an ad would not be a big deal to a $185 million budget. Now, if you assume that we can reach 10x of Bitcoin because we make cryptocurrency useful, the sky's the limit. We're talking about over $1 billion a year in funding that we can use to grow our ecosystem, to encourage adoption, to pay for integrations. And this has been our secret weapon. People keep discounting. Oh, well, they're too small. Oh, well, you know, they've only been around since their trading volume is too low. I hear all kinds of objections. That there aren't any transactions on the blockchain. Well, when you start from a small base and you have exponential growth, yes, it starts out small, but small numbers have a tendency to become very big very quickly. And if you look at, we've all heard this parable about the guy who like bet a king a grain of rice on the first square of a checkerboard and said, just pay me 2 on the next one, 4 on the next one, etc. And pretty soon his whole kingdom was like 5 feet deep in rice in order to pay this guy off. Exponential growth is a powerful thing. Warren Buffett talked about it. I think Einstein used to talk about it. It is an incredible thing. And here's what's happening. We've had exponential growth, 3-digit exponential growth for years. And now we're pretty big. Exponential growth from here is going to be very impactful. Very impactful. I keep saying my biggest issue at this point is growth, not money. It's not resources. We have to grow the organization in a smart way. We have to grow our ecosystem in a smart way. And growing fast and efficiently is hard. So there will be efficiency losses as we do this. We're probably going to have to throw money at problems. But I think we need to be willing to do that in order to continue the momentum and growth. And so I'll talk about one more thing and then I'll be done because I have a feeling I'm going way over my time. But I brought a laser pointer because I had a slide. And maybe the people in the video won't be able to see this, but I had a basic slide that had a nice chart on it with an x-axis and a y-axis. All right?
Use the bottom of the window as your axis.
I want people to see, so we'll go up there. So, in any case, people talk to me about, well, Dash just isn't as secure as the biggest blockchains. This is an objection I hear from business owners. Now, forget the fact that our trading volume is now larger than the Bitcoin trading volume at the date that they launched their business, and forget about the fact that our hash rate is now larger than Bitcoin's was at the time that they launched their business on Bitcoin, that users won't use it. But in any case, they argue that it's not secure enough because if this axis is how much money is spent on mining and the y-axis is how much security you get, it's not a linear curve. Spending twice as much on mining does not get you twice as much security. It's a curve that looks like this. It plateaus up at the top. And you can spend more and more and more. Right? What do you get for it? What economic value does it produce? Well, it's good for mining equipment manufacturers. You might try to argue it's good for miners, but it's not. More miners are going to show up and erode away any excess earnings that you have. So what do you do once you reach this plateau? Do you keep spending more? Or do you partition off a part of it? Sorry, I'll do it over here for the video folks. You partition off a part of it and you use it for something that's productive. And that's what we've done. We've taken that unproductive portion of mining allocation and we've allocated it towards treasury. We've allocated it towards incentivizing masternodes to actually run servers on our network and allow it to grow. And God forbid a portion of the treasury just doesn't get used. Those are coins that are never produced and don't dilute the coins that are in the hands of our users. And so any of those purposes is a better purpose than continuing to spend, and this is what Bitcoin spends on mining, $650 million a year to secure your coffee transaction. Maybe, a nice piece of jewelry. It's excessive, it has no value, and our network, at the end of the day, is simply more efficient. It produces more value than the legacy cryptocurrencies. And I believe that in very short order, what you're going to see is other cryptocurrencies that mimic our system are going to come to dominate the field. I'm saying it right now. All of this equates to one thing. Going back to inevitability. We have reached the point where Dash is too large. It's still a small fraction of Bitcoin's size, but it is too large. It is now inevitable that our product is going to be better than theirs. It is inevitable. When you throw more resources at it, and you do it in a more efficient way, and in a more well-rounded way. We don't just have developers, we have marketers, we have testers, we have every business function that you can imagine. And so putting this all together, I have stopped telling my family and friends that this venture is too risky because I can't justify that anymore. I believe that we've entered a stage in which the outcome is inevitable. And so that's basically, maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it even takes us 3. But it is inevitable that this is going to happen. Economics don't lie. It will happen. So with that, I'll pause. I'm sure there'll be questions at the end, but we'll let Evan have some airtime here.
Great job, Brian.